Located in southwestern France, the cave of Massabielle in Lourdes may seem like a modest cavity in the rock, but for over 160 years, it has played an enormous role as one of the most enigmatic holy sites of Christianity. Each year, up to 4 million pilgrims trek here to touch the sacred rock where it is said that the Virgin Mary appeared. For the devoted unable to journey there, over 1,000 replicas have been constructed worldwide.
The scale of the wave of pilgrims traveling to Lourdes from across the globe is unparalleled in the history of Christianity.
A place of fascination and reverence, Lourdes is a font of miracles, with over 70 cures proclaimed, often involving the gravely ill or disabled. The most recently recognized miracle occurred in 2008, when Bernadette Morio, suffering from an incurable degenerative lumbar root disease, made a full recovery.
I'd lost all hope because I knew I would soon be completely paralyzed. But suddenly, in an instant, the Lord healed me. He gave me, so to speak, a new life.
Lourdes' miraculous healing power began with the incredible story of Bernadette Soubirous. It would become one of the most enigmatic accounts of the 19th century. In 1858, the young girl is said to have seen a mysterious young woman dressed in white here, who revealed to her this miraculous fountain. But is the young Bernadette credible?
Immediately, the question arises whether Bernadette is not taking advantage of the situation. So is she a fraud?
Very soon, though, the cures seem to multiply. Tuberculosis, blindness, broken bones that heal themselves. The most spectacular events confound Europe's greatest physicians in a century where science competes with faith.
Cases of healing at Lourdes have been reported in both believers and non-believers, and with varying degrees of connection to water, suggesting there may be some underlying factor at play.
There are some very, very famous and extraordinary cures that really begin to puzzle the skeptics.
So how can we explain the inexplicable? Experts have tried to unravel the mystery of Lourdes by exploring possibilities such as hypnosis, hysteria, and crowd psychology. The faithful have also rallied to investigate the cures. No other religion has such an office, aimed at certifying only the absolutely incontestable cures.
People are free to believe it or not, but I insist that the cases I have followed are like reinforced concrete.
This is the story of an enigma that has endured for over 160 years and proves as never before the power of faith. Lourdes. The sanctuary of Lourdes, located at the base of the Pyrenees, is recognized as one of the top Catholic sites in the world. With a vast area of 52 hectares, it boasts 3 basilicas constructed at different levels to accommodate the continuous influx of visitors.
Arriving in Lourdes can be a striking experience with its grandeur, featuring a vast esplanade and a modern underground basilica that can accommodate thousands of people, resembling a spaceship and built in the mid-20th century.
With up to 4 million visitors each year, the Sanctuary of Lourdes is the 3rd most visited holy site in Europe, following St. Peter's in Rome and Fatima in Portugal. Pilgrims from around the world gather here to participate in the Virgin Mary procession.
The fascination is immense because of the crowds. Thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people assembled. It's that idea, I think, of collective worship as much as individual cure that fascinates people.
At the foot of the huge Rosary Basilica, a small cave known as Massabielle attracts pilgrims like a magnet. It is considered the most sacred place in the sanctuary and where it all started, as believers say the Virgin Mary appeared here in 1858.
The reason why people visit the shrine is to see the cave where the Virgin Mary supposedly appeared and where the miraculous water sprang up. Despite its small size, the cave is the most sacred place in the sanctuary, and visitors often gather around it, trying to get as close as possible, sometimes even touching the walls.
For more than 160 years, the rituals of Lourdes have remained unchanged, touching the rock and drinking the water from the cave, a miraculous spring believed to have been made to flow by the Virgin herself. While pilgrims seek to get closer to the divine, for the 400,000 sick who make the journey each year, it is the prospect of a miracle that brings hope.
People feeling that they were going to find, if not cure, at least some form of healing, whether that be mental or physical. What brings people to Lourdes? It's the hope of that transformation.
Bernadette Mouriot experienced a profound transformation within herself, which marked the latest recognized miracle at Lourdes. Despite enduring great suffering from a degenerative lumbar root disease for 42 years, for which medical treatments proved ineffective, this nun experienced a radical change.
The disease I was suffering from had no cure other than pain management. Despite undergoing 2 surgeries, I did not experience any relief, and I was on the brink of paralysis.
After suffering for years from a debilitating disease, Nun Bernadette had to rely on a medical corset, a urinary catheter, morphine, and a neurostimulator to manage her pain. However, in 2008, everything changed after a pilgrimage to Lourdes. Just 3 days after returning home, she experienced a miracle while praying in a chapel.
A great heat shook me, followed by a feeling of relaxation that spread through my body. I continued to pray, unaware of what was happening. Later in my room, I heard an inner voice commanding me to take off my medical devices. Without questioning, I obeyed without hesitation.
After getting rid of all of her medical devices, Nun Bernadette declared that she had regained the use of her left foot and the pain had disappeared. Following this, she was able to walk 5 kilometers with her sister-in-law, which she had been unable to do for over 40 years.
Removing devices such as a cast can reveal a loss of muscle mass. When I removed my devices, I discovered that my leg was like a stick and my back had no more muscles. But surprisingly, I felt no pain. At that moment, I came to understand that Mary had interceded for me and that it was Jesus who had healed me.
There is no scientific or medical explanation for Bernadette Mouriot's case, or for many other remarkable cures that have been recognized in Lourdes over the past 160 years. These include cases of tuberculosis, paraplegia, tumors, multiple sclerosis, and others. While 70 miracles have been officially recognized, many more have been reported.
There's only a few cures that have been medically confirmed, and yet there are again hundreds of people, thousands of people perhaps alive today who will tell you that they were cured at Lourdes.
The magnitude of the phenomenon became apparent to us as we gazed upon the walls of the Basilica of the Rosary, which were adorned with thousands upon thousands of inscriptions expressing gratitude for countless healings. However, among this vast number, only 70 miracles have been officially recognized.
The Church is cautious in acknowledging a large number of healings at Lourdes, as it could provide ammunition to those who oppose it and claim it as a fraud. Therefore, the Church has established a complex system of stages, obstacles, and safeguards to limit the number of officially recognized cases to those that can withstand scrutiny and criticism.
What are the obstacles and how does the Church differentiate true healing from deception? And how is the miracle produced? Lourdes is unique in the world as it has been attempting to prove the miracle by science for over 160 years. In other holy places, there are also healings, but only Lourdes has a medical office. Consisting only of independent doctors, it was set up to investigate miracles and reject any cures that might have a natural explanation.
This represents a new approach, as impartial and scientific individuals who have no religious affiliation or receive payment from the Vatican will be requested to provide a medical and scientific report. Our approach in Lourdes, which differs from traditional religious practices, aims to validate the diagnosis of the pre-existing medical condition. To be sure, it was a serious illness, and then study the mechanics of the cure.
Dr. de Francisis receives approximately 35 claims of healing annually, with the majority being promptly dismissed. However, 3 to 5 cases undergo a thorough investigation, which can take up to 10 years and require the expertise of numerous specialists from beyond Lourdes.
Regarding the case of Sister Bernadette, around 300 medical professionals conducted a comprehensive assessment, which included rheumatological, orthopedic, and psychiatric evaluations. The resulting archive serves as a compelling record of the investigation.
It was beyond my imagination that this archive would come to fruition and receive recognition. I deeply respected the humility of the doctors involved, including those who didn't share the same beliefs, and acknowledged the lack of plausible explanations.
For a case to potentially attain official recognition as a miracle, it must satisfy the 7 criteria established by Cardinal Lambertini in the 17th century for the purpose of canonizing saints. For the illness to be considered, it must meet the criteria of being a serious, medically recognized organic condition, excluding mental illnesses, that has not responded to any effective treatment. Thus, the illness must be of a serious and medically recognized nature, be organic in origin, excluding mental illnesses, and have not responded to any effective treatment.
Presently, with the advancement of medical knowledge, there exist numerous diseases that can be treated and cured, whereas they were previously untreatable. Therefore, cases accompanied by prolonged illnesses and treatments that raise doubts are dismissed. Regarding the purported cures, we have received thousands of cases with a significant portion of 35% attributed to cancer in both males and females. However, none of these cases have been subjected to research investigation.
The medical organization requires transparency and collaboration, with the office's meetings being open to any doctors who wish to attend, irrespective of their religious or personal beliefs.
Nearly 2,000 doctors have already visited this year, and for over a century, no one has been asked questions regarding their religious affiliation or baptism status. Similar to hospital and university settings, clinical cases are discussed based on the individual's diagnosed and medical condition, with the focus being purely on medicine.
Throughout the extended process, we strive to eliminate any plausible explanations that could account for the cure one by one. Nevertheless, the medical consultation refrains from declaring a miracle, instead citing an unexplained healing based on present knowledge.
As a doctor, and like my colleagues, we never discuss miracles simply because our textbooks and literature do not contain any references to them. Miracles are a religious interpretation of phenomena that cannot be explained by science or medicine, and thus fall outside the realm of scientific inquiry.
Ultimately, it is the bishop of the diocese where the cured individual resides who decides whether to recognize the unexplained healing as a miracle. While Lourdes' medical practice has successfully reconciled faith and science, it has faced its own set of challenges and controversies throughout its history. To fully understand the mysteries of Lourdes, one must delve into its tumultuous origins.
The success of Lourdes is unlikely and defies expectations. It was far from obvious, and the achievement we witness today could be considered the true miracle.
In 1858, when the story of Lourdes' miracle started, the surroundings of the Massabielle grotto were significantly different from what they are today.
There's nothing to do with the Lourdes of Bernadette. The grotto was different. It had no paving. It was much wilder.
The cave was situated beneath the town, far from the bustling uptown and its activity. The place had a rather negative reputation.
Lourdes was a small Pyrenean town with a population of 4,000 during the mid-19th century. Bernadette Soubirous, who was 14 years old at the time, belonged to one of the poorest families in the town.
The Soubirous family were rag pickers. During the period of the apparitions, the Soubirous family wandered around Lourdes, picking up wood and bones, which were used to make buttons and combs to earn some money.
While searching for wood along the Gave on February 11, 1858, Bernadette Soubirous removes her shoes to cross the stream beside Lourdes. Suddenly, a peculiar sound freezes her in place in front of the Massabielle cave.
She described the event as follows. As I was taking off my shoes, I heard what sounded like a gust of wind. I looked around, but the trees were not moving. When I lifted my head, I saw a young girl, wrapped in light, smiling at me from inside the hollow of the rock.
Bernadette Soubirous is initially confused and unsure about the identity of the young girl and what is happening. In the first apparition, the young girl does not say anything significant and only makes the sign of the cross, which had little significance at the time.
After returning home, Bernadette confides her secret only to her sister. However, her sister quickly spreads the word, and soon the rumor is circulating throughout the town.
The news of a young girl claiming to have seen something in the cave quickly spreads through the small and quiet country town, generating a certain amount of excitement.
Over the course of 5 months, not less than 18 apparitions occurred, which would forever change the fate of Lourdes. Bernadette is soon accompanied by more and more people on her visits to the cave, but they do not witness anything.
The assembled don't see the Virgin. All they see is the evidence of Bernadette's body. And Bernadette's countenance. And it's there that the great debate about what is going on focuses on her. She has certain, quote, tests. She's holding a candle and she puts her hand through the flame and it doesn't burn. These are all seen as indications of the supernatural occurrence going on.
The people are captivated by Bernadette's trances, as the Pyrenees region has a long tradition of miraculous stories passed down for generations.
They believe in her because there's a tradition of appearances of the Virgin. There is in the region at least 40 shrines to the Virgin.
The identity of the apparition remains elusive, as Bernadette refrains from giving a name.
Bernadette will always remain extremely cautious. From the start, Bernadette is certain of one thing: the vision comes from heaven. However, when it comes to the identity of the apparition, she uses vague language like a little girl or a lady. And even in one local dialect, she only says acaro, which can be interpreted as either that or that one.
The description of acaro is quite unusual. Bernadette describes seeing a young girl dressed in white, with a blue belt and yellow roses on her feet, estimating her age to be no more than 12 years old and describing her as very pretty.
The image of the apparition does not match the traditional depiction of the Virgin Mary, who's usually portrayed in splendor as the Queen of Heaven, with an aura and sometimes wearing a crown of 12 stars while holding the baby Jesus.
Bernadette's apparition diverges from the conventional image of the Virgin and instead appears to originate from the realm of Pyrenean folklore, which abounds with fairy tales and legends of giants.
And she's very struck by its diminutive size. And she keeps on calling it that thing because there is both a magical and a supernatural effect. In this part of the Pyrenees, as in many parts of France, these caves are associated with fairies.
The 25th of February approaches, a crucial date that marks the beginning of the renowned Lourdes water, which is deemed miraculous ever since. Although the identity of the apparition is still unknown, she supposedly uttered the now famous words, "Go, drink at the spring and wash yourself there." However, there's no water to be found in the cave.
As Bernadette reaches the cave's end, she notices the wet floor and begins to scratch it, revealing muddy water. She then proceeds to apply the mud to her face, leaving the witnesses perplexed and commenting, "What is she doing? That girl is crazy."
It is unclear why the Virgin instructs Bernadette to drink from the muddy water. When asked by others, Bernadette admits that she doesn't know and simply follows the Virgin's request. It is also worth noting that the Virgin does not explicitly link drinking the water to experiencing miraculous healing.
After seeing Bernadette's actions, some people started to copy her, while others were disappointed. On the evening of March 1st, 1858, a girl named Catherine Latapie from a nearby village who had been paralyzed in her hand for 2 years came to the cave.
Upon hearing about the miraculous water spring, Catherine Latapie decided to visit the cave in hopes of possible cure for her paralyzed hand. As she dipped her hand in the water, her fingers were healed, which she credited to the Virgin. This became the first authenticated miracle of Lourdes and is still recognized today.
Rumors of healing spread rapidly, and while some cases are clearly fraudulent, others astonish the attending doctors. The number of people flocking to the grotto grows larger by the day. On March 3rd, Bernadette is accompanied by 3,500 people, and the following day, the crowd swells to 7,000, nearly double the population of Lourdes at the time.
The novelty in Lourdes is the extensive media coverage and press attention surrounding the event. Photographers were present, marking the beginning of modern times. This, along with the widespread media coverage and press attention, contributed to the growing interest in the Lourdes event.
As the controversy surrounding the Lourdes affair gains media attention, it takes on an international dimension. Despite the mayor's attempts to prevent access to the grotto by ordering the police, the growing crowd of curious onlookers remains undeterred and continues to arrive.
The authorities are afraid of disorder. The idea that this would bring a religious effervescence that would be dangerous to control. And they have reason to. There are all kinds of other people who arrive after Bernadette and say they too have seen the Virgin. There are all these children who say they too see the Virgin in the trees, here, there, everywhere.
The prevalence of false visionaries has created confusion and uncertainty about whom to trust, and even the clergy has refrained from commenting on the matter. However, a significant event will ultimately bring about a dramatic shift in the situation. While miracles and the supernatural have been prevalent throughout the history of Christianity, the clergy's initial reaction to the events at Lourdes was one of skepticism and even hostility. In fact, at the onset of the apparitions, Father Béramal went so far as to prohibit the priests of Lourdes from visiting the grotto.
The initial query that arises is whether the reported apparitions are mere hallucinations or if the manifestation of the Virgin Mary is in fact authentic.
The clergy is always meant to be cautious because they're always afraid that there will be false apparitions and that these are a sign of the devil.
Following the French Revolution, the country has witnessed a growing secularization trend, with faith gradually losing ground to science.
In the modern era of reason, science, and media dominance, the Church is especially cautious to avoid any acceptance that may lead to criticism. Consequently, the default stance is one of skepticism, with the assumption that reported events are likely a hoax until proven otherwise.
The 13th apparition occurred on March 2nd, 1858. We still don't know the name of the mysterious little girl, but she would have given Bernadette a mission: After proposing to construct a chapel and arrive there in a procession, Bernadette approached Father Peyramal, the priest of Lourdes, with her idea. However, he was left even more bewildered and promptly dismissed her after hearing her out.
The crucial piece of information that the priest lacks is the identity of the speaking young lady, leaving him to wonder, who is this girl speaking to me?
Although many believe that the young lady is the Virgin, she remains silent and refuses to provide her name, insisting that it is unnecessary.
Everything would change on March 25th. Bernadette comes running back from the cave, laden with a key piece of information. The apparition would finally reveal her identity.
As they walked, the young lady repeated her message, telling Bernadette to convey to the priest that I am the Immaculate Conception. However, upon hearing this, the priest reacted skeptically, as he believed that such a title was not appropriate for a mere girl. Bernadette remained silent, prompting the priest to dismiss her, saying that he would see her another day. But as the reality of the situation dawned on him, the priest fell to his knees and began to weep, now understanding the significance of the young lady's message.
The phrase, the Immaculate Conception, was not just an ordinary expression, but the same one used by Pope Pius IX only 4 years prior during the promulgation of the dogma that declared Mary to be the only woman in existence preserved from all sin. This dogma, which had caused a great deal of controversy within the Catholic Church, was essential in nature. The Lourdes apparitions occurring within this context served to strengthen a papacy that was undergoing a crisis.
The apparition of the Virgin, who confirms she is the Immaculate Conception, is not only a remarkable event, but also a gift. It silences all debates and leaves no room for doubt. After all, how could anyone argue when the Virgin herself affirms it? This confirmation serves to unite everyone in agreement.
The significance of the Virgin's confirmation of herself as the Immaculate Conception is immense, elevating Lourdes to a prominent position for the papacy, making it a distinctive shrine in the world. The Vatican has provided unconditional support for Lourdes for more than 160 years, which has contributed significantly to its worldwide recognition. As evidence of it, almost every pope has visited Lourdes.
The Church's stance will be radically changed as it takes control. Previously, priests were not allowed to come, but now the situation is viewed as a golden opportunity to promote popular piety, something the Church desperately needs in today's times.
But such an important shrine for the Vatican must have impeccable credibility. To achieve this, the clergy will invest heavily. Since the 19th century, the Church has carried out a series of investigations to prove to the world the events of Lourdes.
Starting in July 1858, the Bishop of Tarbes set up a commission of inquiry to judge the veracity of the apparition that took place in the Grotto of Lourdes and to ascertain what happened there.
That the Church is fighting against the view that they are fabricating evidence or that they are not concerned with the truth, that science somehow or professional history somehow has the dominion over the truth. And that's exactly what they want to disprove.
At the heart of the investigation is the enigmatic personality of Bernadette. It is one of the keys to Lourdes' success. If she lied, everything would be questioned. But can we believe her? Could she have been hallucinating? Or even worse, would the whole Lourdes story just be a hoax?
Since goods and money are deposited in the cave, the question immediately arises whether Bernadette is taking advantage of the situation for the benefit of her family to make money somehow. Could it be a fraud?
The entire fate of the Lourdes shrine now rests on the young teenage girl. In the history of Christianity, many have claimed to have seen the Virgin. There are at least 2,000 apparitions of Mary, but only 8 have been authenticated by the Vatican. Most of the time, the visionaries were not considered reliable enough. At first glance, Bernadette Soubirou's profile also seems particularly suspicious. Her family lives in squalor, in a single dark and unsanitary room located in the town's former prison.
She is the ultimate dispossessed of the town. She is the eldest daughter of a family on the way down the social scale. Her father is widely condemned as a drunkard. Her mother, Louise, is seen as somebody who drinks perhaps a bit.
In the beginning, the Soubirous family was not poor and miserable. They went bankrupt, which is not the same thing. It gets even more serious in a way. When we see someone who has gone bankrupt, we always think that it's the person's fault.
In Bernadette's case, people thought the cause of the bankruptcy was addiction, and the police think she is capable of anything to make some money. Policeman Giacomet is sent to keep a close eye on her. He even summons Bernadette 4 times to question her at the police station. He tries to confuse her. If there's an attempt of imposture, she is bound to leave evidence. Under pressure, she contradicts herself. From these interrogations, the commissioner left hundreds of police reports, essential documents to evaluate Bernadette's credibility. But during the investigations carried out by the church, access to these records was impossible.
Commissioner Giacomi, like some protagonists of the so-called Lourdes dossier, or Lourdes case, left with his files. He took away his reports and bulletins.
At the end of 1858, Commissioner Giacomet left town, but he was forever baffled by the Lourdes affair.
It should be noted that the commissioner was much criticized by those who were, shall we say, in favor of the apparitions. He, in a way, mistreated Bernadette a little bit during the interrogations. One might say that he did his job as a policeman conducting an investigation.
In 1954, the precious documents were discovered in the shrine archives, almost by accident, by the commissioner's grandson. A century after the events, we discovered a meticulous investigation. In his notebook, Giacomet recorded all of Bernadette's actions and gestures, and also the precise count of visitors. The records of the interrogations reveal mostly the young girl's words. Despite the pressure, she never runs away from her original version of the facts.
Giacomet even accuses her of lying. And Bernadette told him, "No, that's not what I told you." Her testimony remains consistent. This consistency can be seen as evidence that supports the credibility of what Bernadette experienced.
Besides her consistency, another decisive argument will further consolidate the credibility of Bernadette, and therefore of all the miracles of Lourdes: the altruism of the young woman.
Many people, including priests, tried to bribe her with coin or something. She always refused any money, saying, "Money burns me."
She's uncomfortable with people asking her to bless them. She keeps on directing people back to the grotto and to the place of penitence and prayer. And all of these are indications, again, of the real thing. She's not trying to profit from her experience.
Despite the miraculous cures attributed to Lourdes, Bernadette's fragile health meant she was unable to benefit from them. Sadly, she continued to suffer from tuberculosis until her premature death at the age of 35.
The cure mania was not introduced by her. It was the people who quickly began to claim, "I have been cured." As the rumors spread, more and more people will arrive seeking a miracle or a cure. Bernadette becomes increasingly embarrassed by this phenomenon and keeps quiet.
While the apparition did not explicitly mention miracles, it was through the remarkable healings that occurred at Lourdes that the site became a renowned destination and drew an increasing number of pilgrims.
That's what's so interesting about Lourdes. At the beginning, there's no inevitability that it will become the ultimate shrine for the miraculous, which is how it is now viewed in international Catholicism.
From 1862 on, the Bishop of Tarbes oversaw the development of the shrine, beginning with the construction of an immense basilica into the rock formation overlooking the Massabielle cave.
With the rapid growth of the Lourdes phenomenon, both on a national and international scale, a thriving enterprise emerged, leading to the establishment of a shrine and the organization of pilgrimages. In order to accommodate hundreds of thousands of visitors, the river's path was altered to create a vast esplanade.
Following the advent of organized pilgrimages and the introduction of train services to Lourdes in 1866, the number of visitors began to soar, eventually surpassing 1 million by 1900. From the outset, Lourdes was designed to cater to the needs of the sick, with spacious access routes leading to the basilicas, 2 hospitals, and numerous volunteers who assisted the infirm to the grotto.
It becomes a place where the ex-votos are put, so that you have the crutches and all the instruments that have to do with being crippled.
In contrast to other sites, the sick and infirm are the central figures at Lourdes and are honored and given priority above all others. It's a place where differences are embraced and celebrated.
Women played a pivotal role in nurturing this distinctive culture of caring for the most vulnerable. They were nuns who tended to the sick and organized pilgrimages.
Without them, Lourdes as we know it is unimaginable. The women responsible for organizing the national pilgrimages tend to be very upper class and aristocratic women. They have power and they have connections, and it's often they who give the money for the poorer people who come on the trains.
Every year, 400,000 sick people come to Lourdes with the hope of experiencing a miracle. They all come to reenact the same gestures that the Virgin Mary asked of Bernadette: drink at the fountain and wash yourself there. The fountain has been at the heart of the first miracles at Lourdes since March 1858.
The sick come to drink the water, rub their faces or even their bodies with this water, and miraculous healings occur. So one must try to understand what is happening. Is it the result of the water's intrinsic properties, or is there something else at play?
Very quickly, the water in the cave aroused fascination and devotion. But what is so special about it? Is it the same water that heals in Lourdes? The most secret and mysterious place in the sanctuary is the famous pools, which are built to completely immerse the sick in the water of the grotto. It is the most remarkable experience in Lourdes for pilgrims, but it is also a challenge due to the shock of the cold water, which is only 13 degrees.
Taking off all your clothes and submerging yourself in this freezing water, and it's glacial, because it comes in the mountains, is a terrifying experience.
This practice of immersion is very old. As early as the time of the Bible, water was used for ablutions and rites of purification. It is believed that one should change internally before changing externally.
Even before the pools were built, the first miracles of Lourdes are said to have occurred through the immersion of the sick parts of the body. Just 4 days after the revelation of the fountain, Catherine Latapie regained the use of a paralyzed hand in this way. The next day, a Lourdes worker, Louis Bourriette, was said to have recovered his sight. Regardless of the veracity of these miracles, how can we explain the fact that the sick immediately flocked to the fountain, even though Bernadette never spoke of a cure?
The connection between water and healing is almost immediate. This is due to the fact that water is a symbol of life, and therefore of healing in almost all religions. That is why in the collective imagination and popular belief of the time, it was obvious that if there was water, miraculous water, because it was indicated by an apparition of the Virgin, there would necessarily be healing.
Full of superstition and magic, the miraculous fountains were then very popular in the French countryside, with more than 2,000 of them, each supposedly curing a specific pathology. However, the Lourdes fountain is distinct from the others from the outset.
Usually, these fountains are linked to specific legends and diseases, but that is not the case with the Lourdes fountain. It is believed to heal all kinds of diseases and people of all ages and conditions, without any specific association.
Eye disease, bone disease, lung disease. The first cures are very diverse, but they have one thing in common: the water of Lourdes as the essential ingredient of the miracle. That won't last. In 1875, the announcement of an almost unbelievable cure changed everything. This is the story of Pierre de Rudeur, a farm worker living in Jabeke, Belgium, more than 1,000 kilometers from the Pyrenees.
A tree falls on his leg, it breaks it, and there's a gap between the bone of 3 centimeters. And they actually they have evidence that a doctor takes out a bit of this bone. Everyone talks about how disgusting the wound is. It's pustulent, it smells.
However, in 1875, a miracle seemed to have happened. While doctors saw no other option but amputation, Pierre de Roudet proclaimed himself healed by Our Lady of Lourdes. The open infected fracture supposedly healed instantly.
He throws away his crutches and he walks, and what's amazing is both legs are even the same length. And this is considered completely remarkable. And it has a flavor of something so extraordinary that it's almost medieval. In the medieval tales, there are hands that are cut off and then that regrow.
Pierre de Roudet's case is so impressive that it causes quite a stir in the newspapers. Some accuse him of having been cured even before the supposed miracle, despite many witnesses claiming otherwise. Roudet's case will be a landmark, and his bones were even exhumed after his death as supposed proof of the miracle. But there is something even more incredible. The Belgian is officially recognized as the miracle of Lourdes, although he never went there. He prayed to the Virgin of Ostaker, Belgium, in one of the many replicas of the cave.
Then we might wonder, does God really need this place in Lourdes, this spring, this water to heal? After all, God is all-powerful, so he can heal from thousands of miles away without the need for direct contact.
That's something that the Church reinforces because it's this idea, it's the Virgin of Lourdes who is interceding with her Son. It's not the place. It doesn't need to be there.
Unlike the earlier healings, the more recent cases have no direct association with water. It is through prayers to Our Lady of Lourdes that the miracle now appears to occur.
You have to remember Bernadette's line, who never accepted the idea of miraculous water, and who says, without faith and prayer, it's no use. It is God who heals, not the water. This act of drinking water together allows people to say that there is something greater that unites us beyond our differences and affinities.
With Lourdes, the clergy purges the faith of old superstitions. Here it is God himself who would be healing the sick through Mary. But could there be other more rational explanations for the miracle of Lourdes? At the end of the 19th century, the creation of the Medical Bureau provided the best specialists with an exceptional opportunity to study the miracle up close.
Doctors consider going to Lourdes to examine miracles as a holy grail of sorts because it allows for scientific investigation and progress.
But for the Church, having the doctors examining the cases is a double-edged sword.
But by using science, they also have to share authority about the miracles, and this is potentially problematic.
When the Lourdes Medical Bureau was established in 1883, Lourdes was already world famous, and controversy was growing among scientists regarding the miracles.
The 19th century was the century of modernity and the rise of science, leading to the confrontation of faith and reason. Therefore, a movement of intellectuals and scientists emerged who opposed the very idea of miracles.
To answer the skeptics, the Lourdes Medical Bureau opens its doors to all doctors who want to come, including atheists who visit the shrine to try to unravel the mystery.
The doctors think they have a golden opportunity to demonstrate a new phenomenon or mechanism that can heal the human body. They are considering the possibility of applying it to other patients and developing a new medical treatment or drug that may cure diseases currently considered incurable.
They want just to despise it, but at the same time they recognize that there's something going on there that they must investigate. Perhaps We need to think about healing in a more holistic way.
The healings fascinate even the most skeptical because they resist rational explanations. Most survivors describe a total experience that overwhelms them.
They talk of a feeling of bodily and mental transformation that disrupts their whole system. Sometimes it's like an exorcism. Sometimes it feels almost like giving birth to a child. It's as if the illness is expelled. And again, the feeling of exorcism is important there. Or giving birth to a new person.
These enigmatic phenomena will capture the attention of one of the most renowned doctors of the 19th century. Professor Charcot, the preeminent authority on nervous diseases, is interested in investigating the purported miracles that have been associated with Christianity for centuries. He aims to demonstrate that these phenomena have nothing to do with the supernatural.
What he's suggesting, and he actually says it, he doesn't just suggest, is that the saints of past ages are nothing more than hysterics that can now be treated by France's premier physician.
Hysteria was a prominent area of study in medical research at the time. Originally thought to be a condition that primarily afflicted women and was associated with the devil, Charcot believed that it was a neurocerebral disease that could explain certain seizures and cases of possession or witchcraft. The association with Lourdes was completely established due to the fact that 80% of the reported miracles involved women. This proportion was not surprising, as the majority of pilgrimages to Lourdes were made by women. However, at that time, the preponderance of female healings drew significant attention.
This closer association between illness, healing, and femininity raises the question, which was already being asked at the time, of whether the phenomena of miraculous healing might be a manifestation of individual or collective hysteria.
Charcot believed that the symptoms of hysteria were varied and poorly understood. He demonstrated that some could be cured with hypnosis. And he posited that the same process was occurring in Lourdes, where the intense atmosphere of faith and incantations led to a state of torpor akin to hypnosis and autosuggestion, resulting in supposed miracles among hysterical individuals.
Well, what's interesting is that anybody who is susceptible to hypnotic suggestibility, and he would say this was a form of hypnosis, a form of losing your will, was hysterical. So in that sense then, these Catholics, especially these Catholic women, were all hysterics. And so that medicalization of faith, that was hurtful for those who were believing Catholics.
The controversy surrounding Lourdes intensified as supporters and detractors clashed. In 1895, Émile Zola further stoked the debate by dedicating a best-selling novel to Lourdes. Despite experiencing miracles himself, Zola attributed everything to self-suggestion, adopting a misogynistic perspective.
It's feminized, more gullible, quote unquote, because girls were considered to be more suggestible. And there's even a suggestion there that it's about having to repress erotic sexual urges. All of this is part of the anti-clerical critique.
The Lourdes Medical Bureau quickly publicly denounces Zola's methods. To support his thesis, the novelist changes the story of certain miracles, such as that of Marie Le Marchand, who was cured of lupus that was devouring her face and is recognized as one of the 70 official miracles.
Zola is criticized for not being very honest because instead of acknowledging the cures and stopping there, he claims that it was not a real cure, it was not a complete and lasting cure. At the end of the day, these people got sick again and died afterwards, which is not true.
The miracles of Lourdes have challenged science for more than 160 years. The term hysteria, previously used by medicine, is now recognized as sexist and the symptoms described are known to correspond to a range of disorders, including neurosis and epilepsy. However, the debate around the power of prayer remains relevant today, as the stories of miracles at Lourdes continue to describe profound spiritual experiences.
They feel they're in communication with something bigger than themselves that enables them to achieve this sense of rebirth.
For me, it's a resurrection. I feel a force that is beyond me. I am aging, and at the same time, I don't feel it. Well, of course, there is a tiredness just like everybody else. But let's say I have received some kind of power.
While some believers attribute the miracles of Lourdes to the hand of God, others are intrigued by the power of the mind over the body, a field of research that is only beginning to be explored, particularly with regard to psychosomatic illnesses.
We have articulated the relationship between the soul and the body in such a way that we can say we are capable of making ourselves ill. Therefore, if there are chemical and biological processes in the body that can cause illness, perhaps we are also capable of self-healing.
What if the miracles of Lourdes were a manifestation of the power of faith? Neuroscience is beginning to shed light on the biological links between the body and mind, particularly through the study of mechanisms like the placebo effect and the regenerative effects of meditation on gray matter. In each case, the research shows the remarkable abilities of the body to self-heal and underscores the essential role of the mind in the prospects for recovery.
As we continue to study the brain and utilize medical imaging tools to understand the mechanisms underlying practices like meditation and prayer, it must be acknowledged that we remain limited in our understanding. Despite the significant advancements, the brain remains a largely enigmatic subject in the realm of science, with much yet to be discovered.
Still, in the 21st century, the miracles of Lourdes continue to challenge science. While in a medical setting, we may not refer to them as miracles, unexplained recoveries remain a subject of fascination in light of current knowledge.
I do not know the mechanism behind it, and I would describe it as unexplainable. The novelty of Lourdes lies in the humility to admit, I cannot explain it, I can't explain it.
While these healings may be seen as a manifestation of Christian faith, they are often also a symbol of hope, serving as an inspiration and encouragement to reflect there is no such thing as a definitively incurable disease.
By uniquely blending science and faith, the miracles of Lourdes continue to challenge us and raise questions about the profound mysteries of the human being.